Hello, I'm Paul Beckwith. A few days ago, on Thursday, July 15th, a very good friend of mine died, Stuart Scott. You're probably aware of his name if you follow my videos, because over the years I've done a lot of work with this fellow climate warrior. The physical manifestation is gone. Stuart Scott, the man, is no longer in flesh and blood, but his spirit will certainly live on. His work ethic, his heart, his hope for humanity, and his fight, his enormous resolve and resilience to overcome obstacles in his life, to give up his job and take on the fight for the planet, the fight to inform people about climate change and the dangers and the risks that we face from climate change. But to go even deeper than that, to talk about the meaning of money, how money is basically become a meme, and it's behind a lot of the climate problems that we have, and the strive, the capitalist marching forward in overrunning all the resources and of our planet, and driving our planet into great uncertainty in terms of the extreme weather events, the disruption of supply chains, the loss of our global food supply. It's the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. I mean, the heat waves that we're seeing now, the flooding, the extreme weather events, they're going to affect the global food supply. They're going to very soon affect our ability to grow food and to supply it to the growing world population. So we're heading to extremely high food prices, global famine, and food shortages, global famine. Very, very soon. We're heading to an Arctic without sea ice. We're heading to a summer-filled, smoke-filled atmosphere. We're already getting there. We're already there in the last few summers in North America. People not being able to go outside because of the wildfire smoke, blotting out the sunlight. So we have to turn this ship around. Stuart basically devoted, since I've known him, we met in 2014, I'll get to that, but he's been fighting the good fight. He very proudly considered himself a climate warrior. He came and visited Ottawa and gave a talk in late 2018, October or November 2018, and he was complaining of shoulder pain at that point and didn't feel great, and actually thought he might not even go through with the talk, but he did. He put his pain aside and he gave the talk. He was diagnosed with cancer in February 2019, and they told him that he had 6 months to live. And he died July 15th, Thursday, July 15th, just 3 or 4 days ago. And that was, if I do the math from the diagnosis, February 2019 to now, that's about 29 months. He probably had the cancer, in November, so 4 months earlier. So his diagnosis was for 6 months, and he outlived that diagnosis by a factor of 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 times. He was a fighter. He wasn't going to let this diagnosis stop him from informing the world how serious climate change was, from informing the world that our money systems were just basically killing us and killing the planet, not being a good thing, just driving us to misery. But anyway, let me go back. So Stuart sent me an email out of the blue in the summer of 2014. And he said that he'd been following some of my work and my videos, my early videos, and he invited me to work with him and attend the Lima COP20 climate conference in Lima, Peru. Okay, so this is a banner that I swiped. Well, the conference was over, and these banners were outside up on poles and so on. So, Lima, COP20, CMP 10, UN Climate Change Conference 2014. Okay, so this banner is, hanging proudly in my basement. Anyway, I think it's probably the only thing I've ever swiped in my life, and it wasn't really, I don't know. I think it was okay to do that according to Stuart. So, but I made sure nobody was seeing me do it. So Lima, Peru. I'll never forget Stuart Scott. Sorry, I'll never forget him. Yes, I'll never forget him. I'll never forgive Stuart Scott. Okay? Because he convinced me to put on a polar bear suit and to walk around the conference, the COP20 in Lima, Peru in 2014. And it was extremely hot. The Peru heat was stifling. And here I am in this polar bear suit walking around. Fortunately, people didn't know it was me. So I just, I could do this. And, after the first day, I said, that's it. That's never again. And of course, I wore it for most of the week. Stuart cajoled and convinced me that it was very important. So, I did attend all the talks and stuff. It was just for an hour a day or so. And that's the first time I've ever stayed in a convent, okay, because our accommodation for that was in a nun's convent, sort of, in a busy area. It's a very busy city, cars everywhere, honking everywhere, markets, outdoor markets everywhere. It had very, very high walls. I mean, Trump would have been proud of the nuns, having this convent with such high walls, the biggest walls ever. And, some nights, kind of wandering in the sort of random walk, sort of that one often does if one imbibes too much, then, and trying to convince the person that say, hey, I'm staying here right now. I'm at the climate conference, even though it's like 3 a.m. Yes, and I'm giving a talk at 8 or 9. Yes, please open the gate. Please let me in. And the guy, I think he had to wake up Stuart and said, do you know this guy? And Stuart, yes, he knows this guy. So I got in. So that was COP20. We did a lot of presentations. You can find them online. They have these side events at the COPs, and, we did a lot of these presentations. Anyway, Stuart, he seemed to know everybody organizing the conference. He could get into any room, he could twist people's arms, and he did. So he ended up doing these press conferences every single day, and I assisted him and did a number myself, and there were a lot of different guests and stuff. He also told me, my hair was quite long and scraggly at the time, and he told me I had to run a comb through my hair. I couldn't go up and present with, really messy hair. And also, he was very adamant that I wear a suit. And, not many people get me in a suit, but Stuart did. He got Greta Thunberg and her dad to to a climate conference, you know, a few years later. He introduced a lot of people to these COP conferences. I went the next year. The next year was the real big one. It was 2015, COP21 in Paris. You know, it was supposed to change the world with all of these hard and fast policies. He got Jim Hansen to go for the first time and paid for his way. You know, when he wanted somebody to go, he made sure it would happen. He traveled so much that he had huge numbers of air miles, and you know, having guests go, it hardly dented his air miles. You know, a couple of years later, in 2019, I went to the Madrid, Spain conference. You know, with Stuart's, you know, to assist Stuart and to give press conferences, and you know, really, you know, met some really nice people. In fact, got an email out of the blue from Alfonso, said, "Paul, you know, I've seen your videos for years. You're coming to the COP." Or no, it was supposed to be in Santiago, Chile, and it was canceled. And, you know, Madrid took it up. They had a month to organize it. I got the email from Alfonso saying, "Hey, come stay at my place," you know, and, you know, wonderful, one out of the blue. And it, you know, it was great. Alfonso turned out to be a very nice guy, you know, not a serial killer, as some of my friends said that, you know, might be the case. Anyway, I go to the COP I was sick. I think I got the, one of the first cases of the coronavirus, perhaps in December. You know, for 3 or 4 days, I was extremely sick with this flu. Had nothing like it before. You know, who knows what it was. So anyway, the second day of the COP, because I was ill for the first day on the Monday. So the Tuesday I go there. I think Alfonso was with me. We go sit in the chairs, you know, near the entranceway, and suddenly there's a huge commotion. You know, this woman runs past me with a camera. Then this guy with a big camera, he leaps right over me, the chair I'm in, leaps over the table and stands up on the sofa on the other side from me, you know, as, you know, like, what's going on? So, of course, Greta had come in. There were a bunch of students sort of from some local schools sitting in a circle, and she joined them. And it was like a feeding frenzy for the media. You know, everybody wanted to see Greta. She was like the rock star. I mean, I've never seen a rock star, but I've seen Greta, and it was just like she was a rock star. So that was quite an experience to start off that COP. You know, Stuart never could understand how my videos would do so well. I mean, he thought, you know, they weren't professional enough. I generally film them and post them, no video editing. Whereas, you know, he started creating videos and built up teams and got more and more professional and, you know, built up a large audience. And he always kind of had this sort of gritting his teeth about me. How could Beckwith's videos be so good? And then, you know, in the last year or so, when he was organizing some of these groups, like Facing Future was his latest, but before that was Scientist Warning. And he always told me that I introduced him to Scientist Warning. You know, they were doing papers, they were, you know, trying to warn the public about the dangers of climate change. And I said to Stuart, "Hey, you know, look at what they're doing." And he ended up basically doing all of the marketing and websites, and, you know, he propelled them forward. And then they grew. There's a foundation, there's Scientist Warning Europe, and a version here, you know, here, and so on. So he, you know, but once he got the group big enough, you know, he has to always be moving. He has to always be changing, or had to always be changing, always be doing something new. Once he founded something and it became successful, then, you know, he'd always want to move on and do something additional. I remember a Zoom call. I did it while I was exercising, and he said, "It's distracting. You got to be more professional, Paul." Then a few months later, I had a Zoom call with Shackleton, my cat, on it, and that just about drove him nuts. And he said, "How could my videos be so popular?" And I told him, "Yeah, you just have to have a cat on the videos." Anyway, from one climate warrior to another, thank you, Stuart. You will be missed greatly, but your work will carry on. Bye for now. Paul Beckwith.